Hello, everyone. Glad to know this recent message has reached Earth. I'm SilverSongbird.
And I'm SilentSwords.
Before we start, quick trigger warnings. This episode does contain mentions of suicide and cult activity. Today's topic is religion. A
Which
bit
might catch you by
dicey.
surprise.
Yep. A bit dicey to talk about in this day and age, but somebody has to talk about it eventually. Starting off, what exactly is religion? Well, it's pretty tough to define, but loosely put, it's a group of people gathering and worshiping something they believe or someone they believe in, whether that would be a god or anything else. By no means are either of us experts on this, so take everything we say with a grain of salt.
And when we say everything, we mean everything.
Absolutely everything.
But with that being said, religion has kind of been here since known memory. The Norse had their gods, the Greeks theirs, the Romans theirs, the Egyptians theirs, and every society since. So, what is it?
Well, as we mentioned previously, it's technically a belief system, if that makes any sort of sense. Sorry, my phone is going off. Uh, the question is, how does it actually start? What I like to think is it stems off of fear of the unknown. Also, dude, you are breathing really heavily into your mic.
Oh, okay. Hold on.
Anyway, if we really examine these different gods and dissect it, we're going to see different gods representing, well, different phenomenon. Like in some cases, that is, some cases. Like case in point with the Norse pantheon, we're going to note that Thor has ties to thunderstorms, Odin has ties to something. uh Long story short, a lot of things are taken and explained through deities, which it was a way that people could understand before modern science was a thing.
It was kind of the ancient people's way.
Dude, we cannot hear you.
Yep, okay. Hold on. Okay.
Okay, we're good.
Okay, sorry, mic failure. Anyway, it's kind of a way that ancient people explained everything because they didn't have a phone where you can Google things.
And if even if they did, they wouldn't even have the information available at the time since modern science probably wouldn't have gone that far. Well, but then again, that's getting into a completely different theory, which we will be covering eventually
At some point in some day and age.
at some point. But long story short, this might seem quite close to the idea of a cult to some people. But there is a fine line between a cult and a religion. Both might say, we only want to show people the truth. But that's the thing. It's hard to define the line between cults and religion, but oftentimes cults use coercion or persuasion to integrate people in, while religion is most of the time joined by free will, or maybe someone got you into the religion. It's hard to explain.
So basically, what she's saying is cults are bad, religion is okay.
Well, I mean, if we think about cults, let's take the mass suicide by Heaven's Gate for an example. That was pretty drastic. No religion that I know of has done that. I'm not saying that there's a fine line between good and bad. That's all relative to what we're talking about here. Anyway, Silent Swords, your mic is so quiet.
You know, there's just kind of not a line between too loud and too quiet.
We'll go with too loud. We'll take the breathing any day.
Okay. I'm gonna have to cut so much of this out later. It's fine. Okay, am I normal again?
Yeah, you're decent enough.
Okay.
Okay, so moving on, let's talk a few cults. Uh, I haven't really researched much about these quite yet, but as we mentioned before, Heaven's Gate was one of these cults. If we look into it, Silent, do you want to run a bit of research on it and I can fill time?
Sure.
Great. So, there are a few different types of cults that we've noticed over the years, such as doomsday cults, which are interesting. There are some cults that center around violence and such. Satanism isn't exactly a satanic cult. If anything, Satanism actually is nothing like what people imagine to be with all the chaos and such. It's more or less just atheists.
Yeah, not
Correct
all.
me if I'm wrong. Any Satanists out there, we'd greatly appreciate some information. Thank you so much, and I am so sorry for the terrible explanation.
Yeah, certain occults don't necessarily even believe in religion, but rather in science and science fiction, such as UFOs and alien planets, and that death isn't the end, such as the Heaven's Gate mass suicide. It sounds like their goal was to achieve reaching the beyond.
Which is interesting. I think I would classify that as a death cult.
Hmm, see, but the line there is quite different because death cults seek out death, whereas this seems like this was kind of an extreme, even for the cult.
Mm.
Whereas death cults, to me, they seem to imply that that's kind of an everyday thing. Let me just jump off this bridge real quick.
That's going to be taken out of context fast, I can tell.
Very much so.
Yup. Uh, by the way, if any of you out there want to make an L theorist out of context joke or joke video, we would greatly appreciate it.
Yes, yes, we would.
Not that we're begging
I
or
mean,
anything.
no, no, we're not. Definitely not. But
Totally not.
there's definitely enough out there. We've said a
Anyway,
lot of stupid stuff.
eh, anyway, let's talk about the different types of cults. Um, for specific PG-13 reasons, we are not going to be talking about one of these cults. For anyone who has read Stranger in a Strange Land, you know exactly what kind of cult I'm talking about here.
We'll leave
Um,
it at that.
yeah. uh, because who knows who might be watching. By the way, hello to any of my possible relatives. uh, anyway, so let's start on these different divisions. Doomsday cults prepare for the end of the world. There are a lot of research that there's still a lot of research I need to do on these, but do you want to fill some time?
Sure. You know, I feel like we say that a lot.
Yes.
Any of
Okay, turns out Heaven's Gate actually was a doomsday cult.
Okay, so I'm sad now.
Oof. The Order of the Solar Temple.
Never
Uh,
heard of them.
neither have I actually. Okay. So it's a cult and religious sect that claims to be based upon the ideas of the Knights Templar.
The Knights Templar actually has a number of controversies around them themselves. They date back to the medieval ages and they were actually quite religious based. They were an army of knights fighting for Christianity inside the quote unquote Holy Land, fighting against the Muslims since both of these religions' holy sites are so close together. You think there's some reason that is?
I want to say it's just because that's where they both started off and just happened to be generally around.
So you don't think there's any kind of just magical happenstance that there really might be something there?
I mean, there quite possibly might be if we really think about it. Like, I remember hearing this old thing if information is confirmed in two or more places, then there's definitely something there. If it were maybe three different religions fighting over this one piece of land, then maybe I would consider it to be something big.
So, but you don't think it's there yet.
Um, I don't really think there's anything quite yet. Oh, here's something interesting. On Thursday, October 4th and 5th, 1994, 53 members of the Solar Temple in Canada and Switzerland were murdered or committed suicide. The buildings which they died were set on fire. A year later, another 16 members killed themselves, and another 5 more died similarly in March 1997. That's creepy. That's really
That's
creepy.
that's an awful lot of people in an awfully short amount of time.
Yeah, no kidding. And on the account that these happened within years of each other. And the fact that the deaths were almost definitely connected, they were all in the same cult.
Same cult, only really you said what? Canada, Switzerland, that's about it.
Canada and Switzerland.
Well, those are two really far apart countries, but that's still only two countries.
The question is, how did this cult spread so far?
And, a lot of people will ask the same kind of question about religion, right? It
Mhm.
kind of started, and then, so what are your thoughts? Is there any foul play in the way religion spread?
Well, I mean, one possibility is religion could spread by, well, travel. People travel a lot and everything. And when people go somewhere, their ideas go with them. It's not like they just drop them off at the door, like, all right, I'll see you after, and just leave. They bring these ideas and ideals with them, along with their gods, uh, possibly their different texts and everything. But what if there was able to have a spread of religion without any sort of travel whatsoever before the age of technology? I mean, think about it. How did Christianity get up to Europe when their stories are about the Middle East?
That is a good point. Now, the logical quote unquote history answer would be the Bible passing from word to word. But that's an awful lot of pages to write, and
Mm-hmm.
even more to print. They didn't have printing presses. So, how did they print that many pages, and how were there that many? Like, no, I'm dead
Exactly.
serious. I've had this question for a long time.
Mm-hmm.
There's like, what, at least 300 or more,
Mm-hmm.
and it's like thousands of
Yeah, that's the
pages.
thing. The Bible itself is actually written by several different people. My
Well,
question
yeah,
is
how did they like duplicate it though? Because they didn't have
that too.
printing presses.
That too. Oh, that's actually a very good point.
It's like it's 1,000 pages long,
It's
and I get
either
it that you
A,
write it.
some poor schmuck had to read this and write it down, transcribing all of it, or if we're going with the conspiracy route, we're going range from crazy town to even crazier. We're gonna put this in like the what the heck section. Is it
Yeah,
possible that there could have been some sort of extraterrestrial source of the spread?
you know, there weren't extraterrestrial extremist groups back then, but there definitely are today. There are definitely people who think they're out there.
Mm-hmm. Which is completely possible. I mean, we've already found single celled organisms in our own solar system.
Speaking of, how does single cells live? I don't get it. I mean, I can understand having a single brain cell, but like, come on. You at least need, one cell for your head, one cell for your arms, right?
You'd think, yeah, but that's where science comes in with those little tiny organelles and everything.
I don't get it. But that's not the point.
By the way,
The
hi, my dog is making a quick cameo.
Silver's dog is here. Any
Yep.
Anyway, I think personally, I think there was something there because the Bible is what, like 1,100 pages long or something like that. It's really long.
It's definitely more than 1,000.
It's definitely over 1,000. I'm pretty sure it's at least 1,200, but don't quote me on that. So
And
how
now
many?
you got a bunch of quotes in the comment section.
Yup, I'm just about, I feel like, I'm the one here, I'm the scapegoat. Anyway, um,
Speaking of scapegoats, oh god, that was a terrible segue.
we need
But
to work on that.
yeah, I definitely do.
It has
But
been a while.
as far as scapegoats go, we'll note a common theme in a lot of religions with a scapegoat. The idea of placing sin or fault onto an innocent creature and sending it off to die has been around for a very long time. In fact, it's been documented on a lot of cultures and old historical texts that I cannot name right now because my brain is fried. But
We've had too many fails at this where our brains just kind of stop working at a certain point. It's the
yeah,
sad
at this
truth
point,
of
we're just going
life.
to leave most of this in.
Yeah, sometimes listening to two people trying to figure out what their life is doing on the internet is funny, so we'll leave it.
Yes. Hold on.
Silver's going to go. She's got to go find some mental help. She'll be back.
Yes.
Stay
Okay,
tuned to see if
I'm
she gets her
back
help.
from the future after talking with my alien therapist.
She is
Anyway,
back.
uh, anyway, moving on. We were talking about duplication of the Bible or transportation of the Bible through what means again?
I think there was some. I think there was like extraterrestrial or just something because you don't get like more than like two of these things because they're really really long.
True, but think about it. I want you to think about the Epic of Mundo. This was carried on through oral tradition, storytelling for how long? And this is actually from I don't know which one of the African countries it's from, but I know it's somewhere from Africa. If anyone has any clue, can you just put it down below? Thank you.
Help us. We need it sometimes. We're not
Yes.
all knowing.
Help quite literally and also mentally. Thank you.
Thank you. We appreciate it.
But long story short, the Bible definitely does have some very mysterious origins on the account that this was written by so many different people and transcribed over and over and over to the version that we have today. Is there a possibility that some of the stories aren't from the original text? Yes. Are there a possibility that some of the original text has been lost? Yes.
Almost guaranteed. I mean, think about it. It's one. It's I still, it's this long, right? But I can't help but feel like there's got to be something missing, right?
hmm
I
Like
mean,
there are
I feel like
some
I'm missing something in
holes
a
in the
300-page
quote
book.
plot. Like case in point, how do we jump from a bunch of stories into Psalms? Yes, I
Yeah,
know they're like short little things, but that doesn't really explain where some of these fragments are from. Are there bigger pieces to these fragments in small songs?
yeah.
Yes, probably, almost definitely. The question is, where are they?
And I mean, the same probably goes for other religious books. I'm sorry, I am not as well informed of this as I should be in this day and age, but there are other religious groups out there that have other religious books.
Oh,
It's probably
like
same thing there.
okay, Hinduism. Hindu is one of the oldest religions known to man, and that's not exaggerating.
Like we're serious, like a long
This
time.
is super duper old, and it's amazing how long it's been able to stay. which
Longer than you would think,
leads to the
considering it's still
question.
around today.
There we go. Now we can actually hear you. Holy crud.
Ooh.
Crispy.
Ooh.
Crispy. Anyway,
Chicken nuggets.
good God. We were talking about Hindu and then Hinduism, and then we jump into chicken nuggets.
Yes. No, please don't take that out of the context. I don't want to die and get put
Please
to jail.
do.
No, please don't. I don't want to go to jail.
Why? You got something to hide? Anyway, okay, that's besides the
No.
point. Moving that out of the way, it's amazing how long some religions can stay around. Like, religions come in and then die out all the time. Like, all the time. We don't really realize this because we only know the big ones, but there are a lot of smaller ones. Like, you may not have heard about Satanism before this. Like, you might have a vague idea on what it is before we started talking about it, but you don't actually know what it is, and neither do I because I'm not a part of it.
We are not pagan believers. Please and thank you.
Mhm.
Don't roast
Speaking of which,
us.
this is another conspiracy that I'm thinking of. Why does everyone believe that the people who believe in the pagan gods are dead?
Or devil worshippers.
Yeah, I want to say it might be Christianity, but is it possible that there might be a darker explanation behind it? With how
Please explain.
widespread Christianity is, there's possibly some things going on behind it. Like, if we really think about it, Christians over the years have done some pretty miserable things to people that didn't believe.
Also to themselves.
Yeah, exactly.
They are
Which
not
makes
exactly
us
nice
think,
people.
what exactly has the church of all these different years been covering up? How much exactly did we/they do?
Well, I mean, that also probably depends on your point of view, but I think the real thing to me is pagan beliefs. When did it go from believing in multiple gods to believing in devil? I don't, where does it go afoul?
Take everything we say with a grain of salt. We don't know what we're saying.
Yes. Yeah, we definitely do not.
Hmm. Okay, that's
Experts
the
we are not.
catch. There's a difference between pagan and Satanism. Satanism, as far as I've heard, is just, I guess,
You just straight up believe in Satan.
living. That's the thing. The name is very misleading as far as I've heard so far. What
Fair
I've
enough.
heard, I'm not trying to spread misinformation, but what I've heard is Satanism is you gather on service and you just kind of hang out for a while, talk to your community, talk about life, and then you go.
And then you just out.
Yeah. As far as Christianity goes, it's very uptight by comparison. And I want to say it's the spread of Christianity that actually pushed all these pagan gods and Satanism, which might even be a name change, to the side and kind of demonizing, no pun intended, demonizing these different things.
Pun definitely intended. That was definitely an intended pun.
Definitely an intended pun. Fine, yes.
We meant to do that.
Totally. Masters of comedy. Anyway.
Anyway, that's just a little food for thought on some of the mysterious aspects of religion.
Mhm. Long story short, in summarization, religion is a system of beliefs shared by multiple people. How does it start? Usually to explain the unknown, or maybe a group of people who believe the same thing spreading those beliefs. Silent? Anything else to add?
Yes. Nope. Nothing else.
Anyway, this is one messy episode of The L Theorists. Tune in next week or in 2 weeks for
Whenever we're back, maybe
another
3 months from
episode.
now, we'll see. It'll get there. Whenever Mars will let us broadcast again.
Yep.
Hold on. There are the guards coming.
Oh,
I gotta.
crud. We'll see you on the next Chaos podcast. Goodbye.